Alright, I keep saying I should be making more of these devlogs, but I tend to not. Still working on that, but I've been making progress in this. Alright, first major thing. Oh, also, actually, there's a lot of visual effects in this that might be irritating to people who are photosensitive, which that could be said about any video game, but it should probably be said in this. There's some I like those kind of effects, so I am biased towards them. But yeah, if you are prone to seizures, probably not a good idea. Um, I don't know how well it's going to actually record some of that, just based off of what YouTube does versus what my monitor does, but just thought I'd say so. All right, so I have fixed mip mapping. I at least have mip mapping working now. It's actually working off of one texture sample, uh, my custom texture sample using the what's it called? The texture atlas, and I have it blending between the different layers using ordered dithering. So there's a tiny bit of artifacting, but it's kind of a cool retro vibe in my opinion. You can see it going off into the distance right now. Everything's working fine. It's all blurring the way it should. And funny enough, if you are making an atlas or if you're doing dithering or the mip mapping stuff with a texture atlas, the mip map level baking for light maps, the angular based one, works really well for this. There's if you have a checkerboard texture, that's not going to work very well. You'll still get artifacting with that, but you won't really get bleed. This is a texture atlas. It's not bleeding into another cell with the mip map, so it's working. You could also, if you externally baked the texture atlas, then for the MIP layers, you can still do that with directx surface textures, but this works pretty well for it just being a drop-down menu built into Unreal. Okay, let's go on to the next area. The next major thing that I have working is I got decals working. So I have unlit decals and lit decals. The unlit decals obviously would be good for signs, and then lit decals are like the equivalent of what you would find a normal decal in Unreal. They work through the debuffer. I learned doing that so this whole setup heavily relies on the extra UV channels. If you have nanite enabled, you cannot use UV 3 to 7. If you have the debuffer decals being used in DirectX 11 and 12, you cannot use UV 6 and 7. So on both platforms that I'm now developing, I'm just using Vulkan. Vulkan has less texture samples, but I don't really use too many texture samples. All of these textures that are being mapped it's all custom, it's all math, but it's not using the hardware texture samples. So I have normal projection right here, and then I also did a little bit of experimenting math-wise, and I have an HDRI decal working, or a latitude-longitude texture. And oh boy, there's quite a few tricks that I've been able to figure out with this. But I can go into Blender and use a 360 camera and like render out a scene of whatever, or like if I wanted an explosion of like, I don't know, it makes a lot more sense in the next thing that I have down the line. I made a fire texture, And oh yeah, I also made palette cycling animations, which this is an overlay material. These are very common on like the Game Boy Advance and a lot of the 16-bit old school things. I only have a couple of effects. This is just getting the value of HSV and just cycling through stuff. Here's that fire effect being overlaid on top of the new character. This is just an old test. And I've also, on some of my off time, just been experimenting with math. I found out some more math on this is parallax occlusion mapping. Unreal's built-in one has more stuff. It's probably better, but again, just for learning, having the pixel offset so it actually looks like it has real volume. Maybe this will be useful for something, but it taught me a lot of math, along with like this thing. Call it like a horrifying storm that you look out the window. But here, like that's one of the effects that is kind of iffy. Using that parallax occlusion mapping, I was able to make this cool water effect where it looks like it's actually going into the texture. I mean, this isn't, it's just a parallax effect, but I think I found the basis of my water effect that I'm gonna have. Probably gonna mess with that to see if I can get some more depth tricks to work, but yeah. Okay, what else? Oh yeah, the other major thing with decals, light gobos. A light gobo is a mask that you put in front of a light, kind of like a fake shadows. So if you were to cut out a whole bunch of holes into like cardboard to make it look like tree branches, and put that in front of something and project it into a scene like that is what is that's a gobo. This is a texture that I rendered in Blender for. It's a fake caustic, and then I'm twisting and turning the coordinates to give it this wavy effect. But it's actually projecting onto the character. This is still vertex lighting, but it's like it's a hybrid effect, I guess. The mask is per pixel, but the actual lighting is still vertex lighting. But we're just going for vibe here. We're not going for like completely accurate. So the HDRI light mask is working, and then here's just the normal UV mask. I can also, if I make another one here, let's set the light to that. I can also just like straight up make lights if I wanted to like project something. When I set the alpha to 0, then it takes from light layer 4. If I turn it up, I can just make whatever light I want. And it'll just project through whatever. I have a new master material for the characters and things that I don't want to have this stuff. Let me go to materials, material instances. Nope. Oh, well, here's that material instance. I can now just checkbox the different kinds of effects that I want, load in the texture, and it just works. And these use they are static bool parameters, so it'll cut out the code that isn't actually used, or that's my understanding of it. What else? The decal lights, there's only so much I can do with decals because they just overlay on top of each other. If I actually use an emission decal, then it'll bleed into everything. I guess that's just how emission stuff works, and that's like the stars on this. I'm wondering if there's a way that I can use this to make shadows. Like, I don't know if I could do that to have a advanced blob shadow. I might toy with that. I'm not sure. Let's go to one of the other areas. Here's that old cavern. It's got stuff. It's got to be fixed. But okay, here is an example of because this is a decal, I have this hard line. I can, it's not that one. If I turn these so that the arrows point into each other in a chain, pointing that way and then pointing the other way, it'll blend. So if I place these properly, I can get away with some blending, but I can't do it in all directions without heavily modifying the base shader, which that's probably not a good idea. Especially if I just want to keep this just like a drop-in and it works in about every project. But that being said, by doing these decals, I broke compatibility with DirectX 11 and 12. So it's right now it's Vulkan or nothing. What else? I'm working now, or I'm trying to transition into making animations and figuring out how to make the character controller. I'm also, I guess, trying to learn how to better draw, but I'm almost done with the graphics on this. It's just clean up, and if I think of anything else that would be useful, but I have my base materials now. Base lighting, it's just finding bugs and doing that. The portals, I need to fix some of the stuff on the portals. I tried rewriting some of that, and I got a lot of things working, just drop in and it works. Like now the character shows up on both sides with just a tag. I just put a tag on the component, and whatever enters the portal range, it'll go to the other side. That uses so much CPU power right now. It's not good. I'm trying to make this work well on handheld gaming devices like the Steam Deck. Right now, with the current stuff, it works. Like I can get 4 to 5 hours of estimated battery time, and if I undo the frame cap, that's at if I half the resolution and I lock it at 30 frames a second, I can get 4 to 5 hours of gameplay. That's still worth it for halving the resolution, because I mean the pixelation can make it look a bit neat, but realistically that's just like it's a portable, it's a trade-off for having better battery life. It runs reasonably well, couple hundred, maybe 150 to 250 at full resolution maybe. I've been able to hit about 350 with the resolution at half, but yeah, I'm really surprised at what I've been able to do with this. I tried moving it to Unreal Engine 5.6, but I think I'm staying at 5.4 for now. There seemed to be an issue with Linux, or the Linux version of Unreal, and that I'm not sure if that was specifically Linux or Vulkan, but I don't have the skill to figure out if it is a memory leak, how to do the bug report properly. And right now it's just simpler to stay where I'm at. If anyone knows how to do that and would like to help doing that, then I'd invest some time trying to figure out what it is so we can report it to Epic Games, but I'm not sure how much yeah. This works for now. Cool.